Voto 1348 is a controversial game, but it couldn't fail this loudly without that controversy. And here's my controversial take. I'm glad this game exists. Hi everyone, this is Alex, and before we dive into the game itself, I want to talk about its marketing and all the buzz around it. Voto was made with exactly one goal: to start internet drama. The game pushed lesbian romance as its main selling point, and honestly, that was the only way to pull it off from the bottom of Steam. The behind-the-scenes video just poured fuel on the fire.
Really passionately want to tell LGBTQ plus stories.
The voice actress coming out and talking about her passion for LGBT storytelling and how the protagonist is just queer in medieval Italy. Yeah, that's not inspiring, that's just frustrating. And look, we all know this existed in the Middle Ages. That's not the issue. The problem is describing it through modern audience terms. That just feels out of place. And then the internet drama hit like an avalanche. Kotaku jumped in to defend the game. Voto was released, and it's garnered a justifiably low Metacritic score of 54 and an unjustifiably ridiculous user score of 1.1. This disparity is likely due to a recent anti-woke crusade over Voto, containing lesbian romance. Instead of shrugging and moving on because the game is bad, some people are using it to fuel fresh conspiracies. I don't take Metacritic seriously as a place to judge a game's actual quality. Steam, where people actually buy the thing, or YouTube, those make sense, but Metacritic not so much. Kotaku latched onto that score and decided it simply couldn't be that low. But here's the thing, you can leave a review on Metacritic without ever touching the game, so of course there's going to be a pile on. A game like this is basically handing haters a gift. I think Metacritic was just an excuse to write that article. There aren't many reviews on Steam, and they are mixed, so there's not really a story there. And I also don't think it's fair to blame Italian taxpayers for funding propaganda. As we all know, the game received money through the Italian grant system. Simply because taxpayers aren't responsible, none of us get to decide how the government spends our money. So here's the bottom line. The LGBT agenda the devs built their entire promo around turned out to be a complete bubble. There was nothing to it. Meanwhile, the anti-woke crowd was rage-baiting, accusing the game of propaganda. The result? Just hype. Hype that brings rage from the gaming community. You know, I've noticed that when a game doesn't market itself as an LGBT game, it often turns out good, even if it includes characters with different sexual orientations. But when a game or its actors start emphasizing that the main character is queer or that they want to tell more LGBT stories, you end up with something like Voto. But if the entire marketing campaign was built on provocation instead of actual gameplay, what about the story? It's not better. One of the main voice actors is Jennifer English, the actress who gave us Shadowheart in Baldur's Gate 3. She also played in Divinity Original Sin 2 and in Elden Ring. Solid resume, and clearly most of the budget went straight to her paycheck instead of optimization or mechanical balance. Those problems turned every attempt to follow the story into pure frustration. We've shown the protagonist and her lover, and honestly, I had no idea what was going on between them. The devs should have picked up some Lope de Vega. The guy knew how to write romance. The protagonist's trauma is never explored. Her entire backstory is delivered through dialogue alone, and it generates zero emotional response, because it's never actually developed. Same goes for the relationship between Aeta and Bianca. That's what I've experienced for 3 hours of playing this game. After the opening, the wandering and in-game dialogues are just filler. We're not even told the protagonist has been searching for Bianca for so many days. It slips out in passing during a random conversation with some local baron. Who writes a story like that? In action-adventure games, story and gameplay are inseparable. If the story is weak, every cutscene and dialogue line makes you want to quit. A strong gameplay loop can compensate. That happened to me with Horizon Forbidden West, but in Voto, the gameplay is just as bad. At best, this feels like a proof-of-concept demo. The gameplay is linear, one-dimensional, and corridor-locked. Combat was supposed to be the engine driving this game. Instead, it's a graveyard of ideas. Same enemies, checkpoint to checkpoint, across levels that have nothing to explore and give you no reason to try. Locations are empty, completely uninteresting. Outside of combat, there's nothing there. The combat system frankly doesn't work. The block mechanic from the tutorial, it's useless in practice. You can't counter out of it, and it drains stamina, which blocking consumes. But dodging somehow doesn't. Thanks. No, genuinely, if dodging also costs stamina, you wouldn't survive the first enemy pack, so dodging is the only viable option. Combat is literally 3 buttons: dodge, step to the side, attack, or just spam attacks until the enemy's stamina runs dry, then finish them. After 3 hours, this induces genuine clinical sleepiness. You feel like you're grinding through chores, and the worst part, an enemy with a double stamina bar, or a boss. With the boss, I had to mindlessly button mash and try to sync with the animation frames to finally land the kill. Devs, are you serious? Even the modern audience won't swallow this. The combat never evolves, the levels are clearly short, and with pacing that fast, the gameplay needs to change, bring in something new each time. But it gets worse. In combat, the camera locks onto one enemy and forces you into a one-on-one. The rest just circle like idiots, waiting their turn to die. But step into a group standing close together and you're eating damage from 2 at once, while the camera snaps to whoever the game's code randomly decides, not who you're actually fighting. And the sound design is just as weak. The combat music is built in flat, repetitive blocks, bland, uninteresting. Listen, at this point, even AI could produce a more engaging soundtrack. Oh, and here's another thing. Why does the whip make a metal-on-metal clank with sparks every time it hits a sword?
First you'll have to catch me.
That same sound fires every time the protagonist's weapon connects with anything. Pitchfork, axe, whip, dagger. Every single time. Look, everyone has a phone with a voice recorder. If you're a sound designer and couldn't afford a boom microphone or find a free sound pack on the internet, you can still record improvised sounds from whatever you have around. Even that level of audio would be better than one placeholder slapped on everything. In this state, this game could work as a Patreon exclusive, something for community enthusiasts who want to support the creator, but releasing it on Steam at $22 and selling it as a finished product? No, that's just bad. Voto is a graveyard of ideas, both narrative and game design. It's terrible optimization. It's a cynical marketing move designed to bait every side into drama and hate. It's a lie. Where are those legendary 250k wishlists you were bragging about on Twitter? So why am I glad this project exists? Because against this backdrop, other projects, for example Knight's Path, stand out even more. A game that unites instead of divides. Games where instead of all the talking they actually show real gameplay, where they don't push an agenda. Even if something like that exists in the game, it's not the main focus. Gameplay is the core. And Baldur's Gate 3 is the perfect example of that. Meanwhile, Voto Twitter account just goes completely silent, even though they were bragging about hitting 250k wishlists. Thanks for watching to the end, subscribe and hit like if you enjoyed this video. If you didn't, thanks anyway, and let me know in the comments how many flops like this are we going to see this year. See ya.